All right, good evening, guys. Ken at Tortoise Capital, Nightly Strategy Podcast for December 16th, 2021. We had our second day of the Quantum Storytelling Conference in Las Cruces, New Mexico, with Dr. Boji and the team. Some pretty good work today. Had a good session just prior to that with Jens Larson, session number 4 in the protreptic and in the protreptic coaching, and we're zeroing in on some really practical work. Today's session was examining ways to ensure that the coaching session goes well and that it is truly in the spirit of the protreptic, and with half a dozen different scenarios in which it can be powerfully useful for organizations and leaders who are looking to develop high-performing teams. So pretty proud of what we're doing there. And some amazing work going on. Now, the most important one, I feel like I need to say this one because there were some genuine insights today. If you indulge me for a few minutes here. So I want to talk about the idea of the shadow, and in the psychological literature and social science literature, the idea of the shadow is the dark side of the personality or the psychology of a situation that is often suppressed, avoided, rejected, and prevents us from becoming whole people. And the idea, whoops, let me get the pen here. The idea looks something like this: that until you resolve the issue of the shadow, you can say, hey, here's my personality up in here. There's some kind of zero line, and the shadow is the part that we want to reject because we're interested in affirming and supporting and increasing everything that's on the sunny side of the street. And if we try to reject this and pretend it's not there, we live under this tension of unresolved integration with parts of us that are not fit for public consumption. If you grew up in a shame environment or a shame culture that put a lot of power into shame and rejecting the dark side, this is always there, kind of lurking under the surface, knocking on the door until pressure to emerge happens, and then you get some kind of explosive outbreak and collapse or some life-changing circumstance that just is not helpful. Well, the idea of the protreptic then is that it's a recognition that we're an iceberg, and the guide is working with a person and only is going to deal with the issues that are here above the surface, and explicitly does not go into the area that the person being coached wants to maintain privacy on. And so the protreptic guide, shines this light from a perspective on this upper piece in order to examine that side of the pyramid. Now, if we think of that iceberg now really as a pyramid, and you shine a light and you examine the concepts that are on this face of the pyramid, and then you rotate to this side and you shine a light on this side and you see that, and then you get this multi-dimensional examination of that which is offered in public for examination, by the owner, or in this case, the leader. It's normally thought of as the leader. And in the protreptic literature, it's called the leader because in the ancient Greeks, that was the way the philosophers trained the philosopher kings. And so it's written as, well, the leader will now offer some things for review, and then the protreptic guide respects that privacy and then shines these lights on this exposed part of the pyramid. And then by raising the bar to the conceptual level, you leave behind some of these challenging entanglements. You examine the thoughts and concepts, and then the leader or the person being coached then is free to take that back in and do some more work in private and examine these secret areas or the private areas or the personal areas with the new information and the new insights that comes from the deliberate exploration above the pyramid. So the insight that we had today was that if you now consider that pyramid of self, and you are deliberately investigating from all these different perspectives, every time you shine a light on the pyramid this way, it now creates a shadow over here that has to be contended with. But if you're doing the protreptic right and you make this circumnavigation, there's always a time when you're shining a light over here and it casts a shadow over here. But then when you shine the light from over here, this is now subject to the light and the shadows over there. So by the time you've systematically reviewed this area under consideration from all of these different perspectives, in each case, you've dealt with the light and the dark, and you've acknowledged the shadow elements, which then can be taken back and examined personally and privately inside that person's own reflection. And so the idea of the guide is to help the person being guided or being coached to bring certain aspects of their life into public for view, to leave behind the mundane and the deeply contextual piece, and really just examine at the level of values and concepts. So this is an effort to learn to live on the basis of values and not feelings. So it's an effort to live an intentional, mature adult life based on highest principles and values, and not so much the feelings, which are a response to the environmental triggers. So the whole idea of the shadow was really essential. And for us as traders, the reason I make this point is that we're going to see some work in the chat room today where we've got the trader over here, that's trying to engage on price action in the world, which has positive and negative price action. And we're trying to work with both of those elements according to a set of rules that we've set up. And there's a lot of discipline and self-control and management that goes into engaging. But meanwhile, we got this little chimpanzee over here that keeps wanting to intrude. That's based on fear and greed and unfocused and knee-jerk. In other words, the world of feelings. And we're trying to work on the basis of, thinking and rules and discipline. And so this intervention of the chimp, when he crosses the wall, wants to come in here. Well, if you try to suppress the chimp like the shadow, it's just going to get stronger and stronger and stronger until when it does break through that wall you've set up, then the results are really catastrophic when you least expect it, and it's going to sabotage. So we will talk later today about what to do when you're not trading, is to deal with the chimpanzee in a healthy way and come to an agreement that says, look, when I'm trading, caution, men at work, when I'm doing this, you do that. Go over and play. Now, we talk about the idea of the inner parts and the idea of the fireman, that most trusted, selfless servant who's very strong and disciplined, who says, look, the fireman has two jobs. Number one, keep the chimp from interfering with the emergency rescue, and then get the risk from the initial risk to no lose plus dinner for two. And then once that's done, the fireman and the chimp can go off and enjoy life and go eat a banana, because no lose plus dinner for two is evidence to the chimp that there's nothing to be afraid of here. You're going to get your bananas. I just got your bananas. Now go enjoy that feeling with the fireman. And when you realize that on 1 minute bars, you're getting to no lose plus dinner for two in a matter of minutes, even the chimpanzee is willing to tolerate a little bit of hunger pangs for the few bars that it's going to take him to get rewarded. So having a healthy relationship with the chimpanzee is important. It makes you a complete whole person. It allows you to pay attention to the signals he's given, but not allowing those feelings that he's generating to intrude into the decision space where the trader is in charge. So you want to listen to your kids when they're in the car, but you're not going to let them drive from the back seat, and you're not going to allow them to interfere with the safe operation of the car, which has taken the family to that safe place for fun and or taking us back home. So that's what I want to say about the relationship now between protreptic coaching and the shadow and the management of the chimpanzee, and why this is so important is that you want to be a whole person that acknowledges that we all have these shadows that occur because of reasons in life, and that we want to address those in a healthy way in order to be a complete person. It involves gratitude and forgiveness, honesty, self-reflection, but there's a time and a place for all that. And the time and the place to not do it is when you're working, when you're trading, and you're driving the car. That's a full-time job that demands your attention, deserves your attention, in the same way that when it's time to deal with the shadow and the chimpanzee, you do that when it's time in the right place, and you follow through with that. And then the chimpanzee realizes, oh, there's no need to get super agitated. I'm going to get my bananas. I'm going to get my attention. And the fireman who takes care of me is going to make sure that all happens. That's the most reliable guy in your whole outfit. That's the one that's dedicated to protecting you from exploding and disasters. And that's why we revere them so much in our world. So think about using that metaphor as a way to have a healthy relationship with the chimpanzee, and then think about doing some work with the shadow and coming to grips with those things that are there and need to be reflected on in order to be a whole, full person. All right, that's what I want to say about that. Thank you for your indulgence. All right, let's take a look at today's price action. Yeah, I think, Luke and Ken, you will enjoy listening to that video in the, from this morning session. It was really pretty good. You'll hear us developing those ideas on the fly. All right. So today, we were expecting another large follow-through day, and we actually got one of those. Only in this case, what we had was a gap up above the RL10, came very close to testing the all-time high. It made a new 10-day high and then sold off hard. Now, the decision point on the intraday trade occurs when it violates yesterday's close. And that's where it really starts picking up momentum to the downside, and then gave a really strong downward move. We'll see how the boys took care of that with IWM today. It was things of beauty. I mean, you guys are making it look correct. Not easy, but you're making it look right. So full marks for the work you guys are doing together in the chat room. You can see the synergy happening, the mutual support, and the encouragement you get to do your best work when it is on the record with skin in the game in public. Cannot overemphasize that enough. All right. So the close came down perilously close to the Bollinger Band mean at 465.5. We're still within short distance to the 2.5% sell-off. That's this one. 2.5% from the swing high gets us down to here. So we have just a little bit of extra movement there. The Z1 or Z -1 is where it's really dangerous. Z -2 is where I would pick up 3 positions short. because that's also where essentially the RL10 rolls over, and then we're very close to Z3, the 5%, and then the 30-day low. So there's that kind of accelerated sell-off is always on the table. On the other hand, a nice move back up, just retracing today's afternoon losses, still looks promising. I wouldn't pick up the second position until it clears above the 10-day high and then the all-time high. And then there's a lot of good room to run above Z2 to get to Z3 up around 480. But it's important to remember that this was the previous all-time high, and we've retraced that whole move for a moment up to that level, which is, a 5% move in 10 days. So that's a pretty amazing move. Almost as amazing as this 5.5% move in 10 days. So that's why we are in bullish volatile. Look at the size of these daily bars. You're getting amazing moves compared to the very small moves that were happening during this grinding upward move. And then realize that during the sell-offs, the ranges started getting large, and then they get really large in here. So the reason to prefer trading on the short side in this kind of market is that those collapses tend to be very fast and large. The upside will take care of itself. The downside happens quick, fast, and in a hurry. So let's be mindful of all that. All right, let's build the daily sectors from the get-go. This is how I do it every day. I just find where's the S&P right there, and then that's my demarcation price. And it was down like can't read that. Yeah, 0.88 today. The Dow was down 0.1. Treasuries were basically flat. Emerging markets conveniently up 0.12. We had tech was the worst at minus 2.57, and the Russell also off large at -2. So that was part of what we observed yesterday, was that there was only tech holding it up. And so today we saw the absence of that, the absence of the tech support, and then that brought about that selling pressure in the S&P. All right, let's look at the sectors that did work, however, better than the S&P. So you had commercial real estate sneaking in here at like minus 0.2. Then in the green, you have agriculture, oil, blended commodity, energy, lumber, discretionary, the other lumber, all up to 0.76. So that's your materials and energy, the opposite of tech. There's XLB, the material spider. Then we have Mexico, which has been a stealth upward play. Finance, we've been tracking the gains there, and notice that it and Mexico and materials are all in the spring and getting better, and they have strong monthly summers. So that's actually a sign that maybe it's their turn. Brazil, VIX, and wheat and precious metals. Now I want to highlight what we talked about yesterday, and that is this target. Notice the big winners for today, and we called that one yesterday. We said be ready for the rebound in the metals. So there's U.S. Steel 3 3/4, Cliff, Alcoa, Tex, and then John Deere in the industrial space. So that's where your strength was. And now let's take a look at these two guys. Alcoa and TX are in the monthly summer and daily summer. So if you were going to prefer a couple symbols in the metals space to look at, that's enough for me to say that's the way to look. All right, underperformers, oil exploration, lithium and marijuana, minus 1.7. Biotech, tech, Bitcoin, the FANGs, blockchain moonshots, Bitcoin Trust, clean energy, ARC innovation, minus 3.7. The large cap blended crypto giving back yesterday's gains. So did Ethereum, ARC Genomics, and now the the disappointing targets for today. Robinhood minus 7, Tesla minus 6, and is now under 1,000. That's troublesome. That move to 1,200 has just evaporated. That's a 30% sell-off. So this is where you would expect the fanboys to start coming in and supporting. So it feels like Tesla is going to be in play. Squarespace, Coinbase, and Apple, really disappointing in Apple. So remember, a monthly summer and a daily summer are not guarantees of continuous performance. That's the way to lean, but we're mindful in this vulnerable market that can change. Virgin Galactic, Microsoft also gave up 3%. So some real leadership got smashed today. And to me, a Friday going towards the holidays, that's an opportunity for this to get smoked tomorrow. A big move down would be the least surprising occurrence in my mind. So I'm going to be ready for that. So there we are. All right. Meanwhile, the traders traded today. No directional bias. You go in the direction that the market takes you. You let the market decide. And this is some really good work here. Everybody across the board. There we go. All right, so this is the ES minis on the 5s. Here's a nice micro entry. Second position, managing the stop. Using basically, this looks kind of like the spine of the dragon, periodically locking things in, and then the sniper exit. For 13R between those two positions. Nice way to start the day. And notice how smooth this is on the 5s. So the 1s can be a little jumpy. This can be a little, this can be smoother, but that means you got to really respect those moves, crossing the PSAR when it happens. This now has clearly rolled over. This is an owl entry short because you had a strong move, P1, outside the river, right? That's the RLXD outside the river. RLXD, regression line, crosses the dragon. The dragon rolls over and the 30 rolls over, and that gives you an owl with a nice tight wrist box to the top of the dragon. Strong move and cover. Fails to even get through the Bollinger Band mean and rolls over again with the RLXD. Short again. Nice cover, nice reshort, good cover. I mean, this went down and came all the way back up, get paid, then reverse, get back in. Now, this is one where I think you may have been believing in it and gave back most of it. You kept this, but gave back that. So that's an area we want to tighten up, and then slow to get in here. So if you get back in here when it leaves the dragon, and then your exit should be right about, this should be a scratch rather than minus 0.5, but this is a great reversal to get low, because now, look, you had that long move, flattened out, rejected the Bollinger Band mean and fails again. That's good. That's great. That's how you get 21.4. Not too shabby. We've seen worse. XRP. For 9.5, let's see what we think. All right, here's a low. Here is the, it didn't even get to the Bollinger Band mean, so you get this 1, 2, 3 cut. That's a COTA 2. Perfect. Nice tight stop. Managed to exit. This rolled over. That's about a 1, 2, 3. Bingo. 3R. Rolls over, lower high, RLXD, and crosses the Bollinger Band mean. That's pretty good. I think this is slow getting back in. I think you want to get in here because you already have this low and a higher low in the dragon. Your COTA 2 entry would be here instead of here, which would give you, that would be your R, and that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 instead of 2. And then you'd be motivated to exit here, which is where this exit should have happened. Instead of this, you want to exit here. And then instead of 0.5, that would have probably been +4. This, I would have been tempted to take this because I would see this as a COTA 2. I would get out here and then stop and reverse, not later than where you did. That's a nice move. I'd like to see you get out of there right as it crosses the dragon. Still, that's pretty close. And then this is where you should be stopping and reversing. I don't mind you waiting for this. When you get that extreme move all the way up to Z3 and you let it come all the way back through here, this is where I think inside that bar, I'd just be cashing it here. You get that parabolic move, cash. Keep 3/4 of it, give back 1/4 of it instead of waiting for the rules. This is such an abnormally good move that you don't want to use normal standard work for that. You want to use the standard work for abnormal gains, which is cut it sooner. This is that same pattern that you did here when it rolled over and gave you a nice trade. This one gives you the nice trade. And again, here's your 1, 2, 3 exit right here. 1, 2, 3. Don't even let it get through the dragon. Just take that. And then this would be your entry instead of this. You could, now you didn't take that trade to the long side, but you could actually have been long here and gotten paid, right? Oh yeah, and that's where you got paid. And then this is just nice. So that's pretty good. That's like 10. And this, when you start adding some of these improvements, this was probably 15. So you had close to 40R realized potential in hand on today's trades. Good work. Here's the S&P. This is good stuff also. You guys are just making this easy for me. Rocket move up, starts rolling over. Not sure where the trade. Okay, yeah, so we probably got long here and then quick exit, reverse, got long, another quick, oh, so that's trade 1 actually, this one here. So that's minus 0.6. That's good. Stop and reverse, I think. So that was a scratch. And then this one gets long and then scratches. Now I think you're probably gun shy because right in here, what I want you to notice is in the dragon, you have a high, a lower high, and now you have the RLXD and crossing the Bollinger Band mean. That's your signal to be short. Let's look at a clean version of that one again. So RL10 or the dragon peak, a lower high, then that becomes essentially a COTA 2. Now, when this breaks, I would have been tempted for a second position here and another entry short there, because now you have a Z3 pinch breakdown and you're below the VWAP. So as this thing, you can already feel this failing. So that's really you got to get that one. And then your exit is here with the PSAR flip. You could even get paid on that trade. And then this one is a little late getting in because you draw your your RL10 right there. Then this move is the collapsing dragon here instead of here. And then this is an opportunity for a second position when this rolls up, doesn't even get through the dragon, and then breaks down through the belly of the RL10, and the MACD turns to winter. That's where your second position can be, and that's a pretty good get paid exit. So that 4 could have been 6. And then this is just nice as can be. So we'll take that. We'll take, this is about 5.5 for the day. Keep taking the next shot. That's good work. Luke on the, oh no, this is not Luke. This is, I think, Stephen on the IWM on 2 minutes. We're going to make 3R today and lots of good lessons. You're developing the coach's eye. Now, this is the commentary on the chimpanzee that motivated my earlier remarks. Now I'm going to give you an extra tool to work with. So your lesson learned was that there was a lot of chimpanzee activity in here, just kept nagging. And finally you got it. And then you cashed it because the chimpanzee was worried. And then in this period of time, during the massive move of the day, it was necessary to take a walk in order to process the chimpanzee's energy. So here's how you ramp this up. Reflect on the very positive value that you learned a technique to manage that chimp. So you had an episode, an event, we would call that in protreptic, where you had this chimpanzee noise and you said enough, and then you took action to take that energy and get it back under control until you were ready to trade again. So now what you do is you investigate all of those feelings and lessons learned. And what we're going to do is compress that. We're going to compress that into like an icon or a symbol or a sound or clap your hands or a haiku or something that allows you to summarize the story into a trigger that as soon as you invoke the trigger is going to put that like on 2x, 3x, 20x speed. So you can go through all of those steps, but in a hurry. Like if you had a little list of I did this, then I did that, then I did this, and then I did that. 4-step process with breathing, walking, refreshing, and then resetting. So what we want to do is turn that into a procedure or a button that we can push and say, hey, when I get the chimpanzee, I push that button and the fireman comes and gets him and takes the chimp away. And then I replay that movie at fast speed and I generate all the feelings that the first episode did in a slow, measured, formal way. But now I'm going to activate that instantly. So in a matter of 1 to 5 seconds, I can get back to the 0 state. And now I can take this trade and re-enter and add a second position and a third position when it turns. So now I can get paid 10R. It's going to pay you 10R on one trade to do this process of learning how to encode the procedure for achieving calm, which you just proved that you can do. So you don't have to prove that again. You already know you can do it. All you got to do is make that a movie, install it as a trailer, push a button, play trailer, get to the 0 state, keep trading. The more times you do that, and the more you rehearse it, the more available it will become for you. So for me, I have that little Chinese gong that I keep at work and a picture of the Monkey King and his little iron circleted discipline. So I can get in and out of the 0 state as fast as I need to in order to respond. The trigger that I use is the pattern I want to trade. So just associate the pattern you want to trade, which is the re-entry, or the collapsing dragon, let that be the icon. Make that into a flashcard and then rehearse that and say, when I see that pattern, it puts me in the zero state, and then I trade it. That way you cut out the middleman. On the background of my Zoom thing, you can see that's the Zildjian gong that I have that gets me into the zero state when I hit it. So that's how you do it. Use the flashcard pattern as the trigger to get into the zero state in order to trade it. You're killing about 7 birds with 1 stone when you do that. So good effort, better reentry. So there you were in the zero state. There was a chance to add a second position. And when it breaks through the Z3, there's a chance to add a second position. And that's a great exit. So make that your flashcard and say, look, chimpanzee, if you will just go play with the firemen, I'm going to earn you so many bananas that it will pay you off to go play somewhere else. This is not your playground. Your playground is over there. Make that music. If you like music, put a soundtrack on that will occupy the chimpanzee. There were some really good ideas on that specifically in the chat room today. So anyway, this was a good day. You got paid to learn today. And the lesson learned was how to manage your chimp in a healthy, happy way. He does so many good things for us. That's the source of our creativity and inspiration and our animal energy to get things done. It comes from the chimpanzee. So you don't want to eliminate him. You want to encourage him, but to do it in a place where the chimp should play. Build him a little chimp house. All right, here is Luke with CLF. Got paid to practice today. Good work here. Good scratch, good shot, paid for the first 2. There just wasn't much room. So you got what was available, which was just enough to stay loose and limber. And what that allowed you to do was to, well, because you were professional the whole day, that is a positive. Being professional generates the energy to maintain your professionalism. It's like a self-licking ice cream cone. It gets better every time. All right, and that gives you the ability to be professional on IWM. And because IWM was working, you got paid in a nice way here. So now you can see how CLF is helping you balance IWM so that each one is taking care of the other. Today, Cliff didn't work, but IWM did, and the positive professional trading in CLF allowed you to be professional in here and just keep taking your shots, and bang, now the move happens and you got paid in a big way. 4R on scale. Well done. Here's Alcoa. Chi Wang Chong, I think this is yours. And you're beating yourself up a little bit here. Not necessary. Yeah, you're on the 1 minutes. Yeah. And then you got the reentry. So that was this could have been, yeah, maybe just this. Hey, I don't mind you getting paid. You got paid. You don't want that R? I'll take it. This was a good effort. It was in the money and then started to reverse. I think you saw the VWAP and the rising Bollinger Band mean. So, hey, you got paid, and then were able to re-enter quickly and got really well paid. And then you geared into this exit and then re-entry. I can live with that. I would rather be on the outside wishing I was in than on the inside wishing I was out. Remember, there's a good reason that, I mean, this thing could have come to the PSAR, it could have come to Z-1, could have come to the RL270. So that one locks in 2.2R, and you're now able to re-enter. That's good discipline. I would not relax that until you just get to become more accepting of those decisions. Those decisions are going to keep you from ever blowing up. And you will learn And as long as you're re-entering, you can live with that. Here's 10R in the Aussie. And this is still looking at the 15 minutes. Oh, 1, 2, 3, enter. Oh, or here at the breakout of the river, or the Z2 or the Z3 breakout. Any one of those entries gets you this trade. Good shot. Good shot. This is one where you'd have had to have had this probably happened pretty fast. You would have had to have the stop and reverse in, or at the breakout above the dragon. Good scratch. Good, pretty good short. This might have been late cashing that. I might have gone. Here's a perfect example of a 1, 2, 3. Your 1, 2, 3 exit is right here. And that's more appropriate on currencies on the 15 minutes. You'd really like to cash that one here. Then that could actually be your long, or this one is long, but that's still not bad. You got it as it crossed the Bollinger Band mean. Good second position, good third position, got paid. Pretty nice. And yeah, I like it. Yeah. Don't let anything get away. Bring the whole fish home. Feed the family. Nice work. Bullish volatile, still overbought, getting a little decay from today's reversal. The risk Z is still warning us to take it each day, one day at a time. This is a short-term trader's market. Pretty soon, if it can break through to an all-time high, that's going to get better, and then it looks more like that. So we'll be ready for that. Procter, Johnson & Johnson, and Pfizer. So the whole UNH piece is going to look pretty good. Handful of dojis. Intel is lagging. Nike is in good posture. It's a 5DD and a channeling and overreaction. So that's one you want to look at. Some good auto framers still in the globals. And Brazil. Metals and mining is one broad way to play the all the metals, if you don't want to buy the individual stocks. No squeezes. Still a ton of springs as we're looking at pushing that all-time high, and a respectable amount of summers, and those are all U.S. indexes right there, and the real estate remains a stealth play. Clear winners. Consumer staples getting it done. And Mexico is accelerating on the short term with those two greens right there. Mexico's a stealth play. All right, guys, that's everything we got for today. Let's get this published and posted. Good work. Let's be ready for a large move Friday. And I'm not carrying risk over the weekend. I'll tell you that. Tomorrow's a day trading day for me. All right, that's everything we got. Good work today, guys.